Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a report that dropped some news. Our source actually called absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it really is one of those headlines, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you kind of stop and reread it. Unexpected.
Totally. So this is coming from Roll Call,
Mm.
reported by Naya Prater. And the name, well, the big surprise name being talked about for a U.S. Senate seat is Kid Rock.
Kid Rock, yep. Real name Robert Ritchie. The report lays it out. His name apparently came up as a potential GOP candidate.
For the Michigan Senate seat, right, the
Yeah,
one Debbie Stabenow has held for ages.
exactly, the Democrat stronghold. But the source is pretty clear here. No official decisions, nothing like that.
No, not at all. It sounds like this was just talk, maybe floated during the Michigan Republican Party convention pretty recently.
Right, just chatter,
Mm.
basically, a conversation starter, as the report puts it.
Okay. So our job here in this deep dive is to really dig into what the source, this roll call article, actually tells us about this possibility, the
Mm.
context, the reasoning they lay out.
Not just the shock value, but what's underneath it, according to the reporting.
And this is where it gets interesting because the source doesn't just, drop the name and run. It gives background, his political leanings.
It does. It mentions an old Rolling Stone interview back in 2013 where he said he votes Republican mostly, but called himself more libertarian.
So, kind of hedging even back then, not strictly party line, even though he leans right. The source shows that history.
Exactly. But then the source also points to his more recent stuff. Very public support for Republican candidates.
Right. Like Mitt Romney in 2012. Then wasn't it Ben Carson in the 16 primary?
Yeah, Carson first. And then he switched to Donald Trump when Trump got the nomination.
That's quite the path. And the source notes that, right? How he really embraced that Trump support.
Oh, yeah. The report specifically mentions him selling pro-Trump merchandise. You know those T-shirts.
Ah, the God, guns, and Trump ones. Red, white, and blue text.
That's the one. The source uses that detail, it seems, to show how he built this specific kind of political brand, something that resonates.
Yeah, you can see how that messaging would definitely connect with, well, a certain part of the Republican base, especially somewhere like Michigan.
Precisely. And the source gives us the bigger picture, too. Stabnow's held that seat since 2000. Solidly Democrat, historically.
And the handicappers, the election predictors, they mostly agree, right? The source says they rate it solid Democrat.
Generally, yes, as of the report.
Yeah.
But and this seems key to the source's angle. Republicans apparently feel more hopeful about Michigan now.
Because of Trump's win there in
Well,
2016, that's surprise flip.
that seems to be the logic presented. The source suggests Trump winning the state kind of opened the door, made the GOP think maybe other, let's say, unconventional candidates have a shot too.
So the ground feels different, at least from the Republican view the source is describing, like the state's electoral map isn't set in stone anymore.
That's the context the report provides. This potential shift might make someone like Kid Rock seem, well, less outlandish to some people within the party structure there.
Okay, so while the source flags the idea as crazy initially, it immediately tries to place it within this wider political context, which honestly makes it more interesting to talk about.
It really does. And the comparison they draw is fascinating. The source basically says, hey, crazier things have happened in politics.
Uh-huh. Pointing to like a reality star and an eccentric billionaire getting elected president.
Right. Clearly referencing Trump without saying the name right there. The source uses that as a precedent,
Right.
if that can happen.
Then maybe considering a rock star for Senate isn't completely off the wall anymore. Is that the idea?
That seems to be the implication in the report.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe the definition of a viable candidate, or at least one worth discussing, has changed because of recent elections.
It's like the source is saying recent history kind of normalizes even just the talk about candidates from way outside the usual political mold. So let's bring it back to you listening. Why should you care? Why does this potential candidacy, based on this one source, matter?
Well, it really pushes you to think, doesn't it? What does it suggest about American politics right now? That this is even a conversation reported by a serious outlet.
Yeah, like how have things changed? Voter expectations, the actual path to getting elected office.
The source gives you these pieces,
Hmm.
right? His background, the branding with the merchandise, Michigan's recent history, the Trump comparison.
So thinking about all that, what does it tell you about how candidates connect now? Or maybe what some voters are looking for beyond, a standard political resume?
It's definitely food for thought as you see who emerges for the next election cycles. Does the way this source frames it resonate with how you see the political landscape shifting? Something to mull over.